So I am here today in conversation with Anita Brightley-Hodges, who is definitely a rock my age woman as far as I'm concerned. Anita embraces life to the full. She's got a huge energy for life, a huge zest for life. She's a mother, a grandmother. She's an entrepreneur. She's run various businesses. She's reimagined herself, I might say, a number of times. And we've paralleled each other in life. She's been a great support to me in my life. We've both been in the design world. We then went into running businesses around leadership and coaching. And Anita is now, which I know we'll talk about in a minute, is also now running a platform for women on wellness and wealth. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I think firstly, Anita, I'd just love to understand what gets you up in the morning, because this extraordinary energy you have for life. Tell us, what drives you? What gets you up?
Well, first of all, Erika, it's really nice to be on your show. This is so exciting. We've known each other for so many years now. So it's lovely to see that you're doing this, this with women as well. So that's great. So I guess, I come from a working class family where we just worked and we just, had to get on with things and make do, etc. And I think because my mum was Chinese and she sort of escaped from communist China when she was a little girl and went to Hong Kong, I think, and then met my father who was in the army and came over. I think that survival thing is in her DNA, and I think it's filtered through to me and my sister really. And I think that that combination with having the opportunities to just be identified at school for being creative, and I go to art classes when everyone else is doing, other, assemblies and things like that. And I think that I've just had these wonderful, guardian angels that have seemed to have been able to help me flourish, because you can't do things on your own. And but one of the things that I have found, for me anyway, is that life has been a zigzag. It's never a straight line. I think that once I'd realised what it was that I was good at, then I had a hunger to be successful at it. And I thought, right, where's my pathway going to go? And so I, people, design, business, women, all that sort of stuff, that really ticks all of my boxes, really. And I've just been blessed to be able to do those things in my life.
Is there that sense of purpose been very important for you? There's that work ethic, but also I'm interested, is there been a thread through that has taken you on that path? Is there something that's common for you that's led you there?
Yeah, I think that because my birthday is in October, I was one of the eldest in the year, so I was a little bit older, and then my parents got divorced, so I couldn't go to art school. I had to go and get a job, and then it was a realization when I was actually on the train from Gillingham to Cannon Street one day, because I worked at a bank, and I thought, is this my life? I got back on the train at Cannon Street and I went home again, phoned my art teacher up. Long story short, I landed up in art school, and once I'd found it, that was fine. So I felt really, really comfortable that I was in a creative space to start with. But I think I just wanted to push myself to see how far I could take things. And it was at a time when, it's quite topical now because of what's going on, in America at the moment, but I didn't have any Chinese friends. So I've never been able to have a positive self-image of my own heritage, really. And as I've gotten older and got wiser and met more people, in the later part of my life, I've realised actually by joining up the dots, I realise why I'm here now. So I'm a great believer in, sometimes you just think, I don't really understand why I'm here. When you look back and you join the dots, you think, right, that was because of that, that was because of that. And that's really the thread that's and the things that happen in my life have really made me think about what's important now, and how can I live my life, always reevaluating what's important for me now, So, I guess the thread really is just to keep going, looking back and then looking forward. And I'm an opportunist, you know what? I'm always saying, yep, I'm the first one to say yes to everything. And I'd like to think I'm a positive person, I think if you're positive and you're creative and and I've always wanted to create my own destiny, be my own boss. I think there's something in me that says, I can do this.
How easy has it been for you to be your own boss? I mean, so I'm interested because we're going from a creative environment to more of a perhaps a business environment. As a woman as well, you know, how have you found that? There may or may not be any different for you when you look through that lens, but how easy or difficult has it been to be your own boss, to set businesses up, to get support? And you talked about guardian angels earlier.
Yeah.
Who supported you through all this?
Yeah. I guess when I started my very first design agency, as you remember, back in the 90s, I mean, you and I would have been just a handful of women that ran branding agencies, like half a dozen, that was it, with more than 2 people, you know. So when we first started, I remember I used to take project managers with me to client meetings, and the client would always look at the guy, you know. I'd say, well, actually, I'm here. I remember, you know. And so I think that it's sort of, that was quite hard to start with, but because I was dogged about it, because I was so passionate about it, and I think that's quite infectious. And what I've learned over the years is if you can be infectious, you know, and there are people that you really gel with and you will do well with, and they'll become your advocates, and they will help you. And I've just been very, very lucky. And there are those, and you have to accept that you're not right for everybody. So I think that one of the things I would say to anyone running a business is, if you can quickly identify your champions, your guardian angels, they will support you no matter what happens, because, you know, it's business is personal, isn't it? Know me, like me, trust me, and in that order as well. And I think that if you can get people to know who you are and like you and then trust you, then I think those things will follow. But I think you have to have a holistic view. And I'm quite sort of, yeah, I'm not as anxious as I was when I was young. I was an angry young designer and I wanted to make it, you know, and I wanted to conquer the world. And I think as I've gotten older, I've realised, well, actually, you know what? There are other things that are interesting too now. And I think if you're open to it, other doors open to you. I mean, we talk about that a lot, don't we? About positive energy. If you are open to things, they come your way, don't they? It's very peculiar life.
And you have always been very supportive in anything that I've been doing. And it's been great to have you alongside me. And I've also been very aware that you have your family alongside you, and you're sitting in front there of family business place. Can you talk to us about what family means for you, and share a little bit about the fact that you are actually a family business yourself, which is wonderful, and you know, a mother and a grandmother, but you're the boss, or you were the boss. I think you've now passed on also to the next generation of your family, which is amazing. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Well, as you know, when I first started Family Business Place, there wasn't such a thing as an organisation that supported family business in the UK. And with my marketing hat on and design, I thought, well, actually, what's going on here? And you know, fast forward, we're 12 years now, and we're the leading membership organisation for family firms in the UK. And we are a family, right? We are a family business. And I just think, what a privilege it is to come into work every day and see two of my daughters, see my son-in-law, to see my grandson every day. But you have to have boundaries so that the lines between work and home aren't blurred, because that's where family businesses get into all sorts of problems, really. So when I ran my boutique agency, I was on my own, but because I'd lost the business back in 2008, it was actually the strength of my daughter Amalia that gave me the strength to say, I can do this again, but in a different way. And then with Olympia, and then with Nick. And I think, well, you know, it's great, because before I was on a drive 4 hours a day traveling to London and back. I was a weekend mum. And now it's, you know, I love it. It's wonderful. What could be nicer than seeing your family working, as long as you can make sure that you're professional where it counts, and that you are playing to your strengths. And everyone has earned their seat at the table, really.
And healthy boundaries are so important, aren't they? I mean, within your own business, but also in setting up healthy boundaries with, you know, whoever you work with, whether that's partners, you know, clients. It's a really big part, I think, of us. And women aren't always, you know, we often tend to do a lot and give a lot. So I think healthy boundaries are particularly important in this case. You talked there a little bit about the tough times. You said, you know, when a business when you had struggled with the business. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because often people worried about setting up a business, you know, that we all worry about maybe it not going right, failing, etc. And sometimes people have, given up work, had a family and want to start again. How did you get through that? What resources did you pull on to get yourself going again, as it were?
Yeah, I guess the first thing to say is I admire anyone that runs their own business. And I think only people that run their own businesses really understand what that is. Because I think to a lot of people, you can seem as if you are really successful, like a swan, aren't you? You're sort of like, you're swimming on the water, but no one knows that you're paddling like a crazy person. And also entrepreneurs, they have a different approach to risk. It's like, what could possibly go wrong? And if it did, so what? And I think that if you can have that sense of, belief in yourself, absolute self-belief. And when I first started my first business, Stephen, my husband, was behind me all the time and said, I would look after children and give you an opportunity to go and do your thing. So I did it. But, with risk, there are things happen. And of course, in 2008, we had the big first, collapse of the economy. And, I got caught up in all of that and I lost everything. I'm talking about a studio that I bought, my business. It was just probably the worst time of my entire life because my identity was all wrapped up in it as well. But I had friends that rallied around. Someone lent me a car. Somebody said to me, I'll pay your congestion charge. Someone said, I'll phone you every day. Another friend said, what can I do? So, and then another friend said to me, I have a studio here. You can have it for a year. Like, wow, that's just unbelievable. So they're my guardian angels. And I'd like to think that I'm a supportive back. And you do pay it forward. But I think until something happens to you like that, you don't realize that you're not on your own. I think when you're in it, you feel like I'm on my own, and you are. But when the shit hits the fan, then you realize actually that you have got guardian angels and they are able to help you. And if it wasn't my friends and family, I don't know how I would have got through it really. But I wouldn't wish it on anyone. But now that I have, I'm really happy to coach and help people that are going through bad times. And actually, I did a video with Amalia. We talked about what it was like. Because as a very good friend of mine, Barbara, said, this too shall pass. And it's very hard to think about it when you're in the middle of it. But it will. It does pass. And life is just, I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying it's different. But there are just as many wonderful things happening now as before. It's just a different way of living, really. And I'm very, very fortunate. I'm grateful.
And you talked there a little bit about the premise of identity, and it was wrapped up in your identity. But I know that there's other pieces of you, particularly your social responsibility, that's very close to your heart. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, because again, I know you have a huge passion for giving back. And so, could you share a little bit about how that fits into your life as well, with all the other things that you're doing?
Sure, no, it's a pleasure. So when I was at my lowest point, a friend of mine said to me, do you fancy coming to Uganda for the weekend? And I thought, well, I've got nothing else better to do, my life has come to an end. Yes, of course I'll come. So the 8 of us went to Uganda for the weekend. We left on a Friday, got back on the Monday. And there are maybe people watching this who get Africa, and I'd never been before. And we went to the killing fields, the orphanages, the poor communities and the schools, etc. And each one of us sat on the bus and I said, well, we could just go home and say that was a great experience, or we could do something. And all 8 of us on that bus have done things with this particular charity called Fields of Life. And so I came back and I wept when I saw a water well, just water coming out of the ground to a village that had 200 people, and they've had to share their water with animals before. And I came back home and I said, right, we're gonna trek the Sahara Desert and we're going to raise funds to build up our very own borehole well in Uganda. And they did. The whole family came, and we raised enough funds to build a borehole well in Uganda. And because of our family business connections now, we have raised enough money and we have built 30 around Uganda. And that gives life to between 200 and 2,000 people. But I think that the way I see it is, even though things were really hard for me, I just thought somewhere else you know, they are having a worse time than me and people are actually dying. What have I got to moan about? So I think that giving has really helped me come through my darkest hours, really, because otherwise you're looking at yourself all the time. And I think when you know you can give, even though I didn't have any money, I could give my time, I could give my effort, I could give my network, I could give ideas. And really that's lasted, you know, all this time. So I just do things on a whim now. I trek around the world and I run for stuff and I don't know, all sorts of things. But I think that it makes me feel as if I can contribute and it's not all about me. Mm.
And I guess that's also part of this, potentially your next part of your journey,
Yes.
which I'd love you to share with us now about, you know, this, it's not all about me, it's like what we can give back. I think something that Debbie and I at Rock My Age have been talking about, Anita, is this idea that, you know, we've all been through a lot, we've had a lot of experiences, and we'd love to give back. I know that you do a lot of coaching now, and also help a lot of young people coming through as well. So I'd love to hear a little bit now about what's next for you. You know, what does the next, I don't know, 20, 40 years look like, 50, 60, however long we're here for, which will be, and to remain healthy through it and still have that zest for life. What do you know, what's important for you now?
Okay, so you're quite right at the beginning, and now the business, which is a platform now, membership organisation, is now has gone. Marley now is the MD, so that frees me up to look to spend more of my time as an advisor and coaching heads of family businesses. So I love all that, and I also continue my education as well. So I'm always doing new courses and things. Then I really thought about, what else is out there? What else could I do at my time of life with my experiences? And, you know, I'm separated, I'm a woman, I've run a business, I've lost a business, I've set a business up, my parents have died, you know, I've brought up kids. There isn't anything really that you could throw at me that I haven't dealt with. So I identified 5 areas of trauma that women of wealth will go through. And it may be, you know, it may be divorce, or it may be bereavement, or it might be the early onset of ill health for their husbands. It might be inheriting a businesses or a fortune, and their world will be changed upside down. And what I really, really valued when I was going through difficult things was being able to have friends that said, breathe, stand back, take some time, because you are so obsessed with changing things. Let's get on with it, let's fix it. And everyone around you is saying they want part of you, do this, do this, do this. And so I set up an organisation called Sephora, which is all about women's wealth and well-being. So the wealth part of it, women, you know, of wealth have no idea about money. Most of them can't even tax a car. It's just the way it is because they have a privileged life. But wealth is really important for your personal security and your protection for your loved ones, your family moving forward. So that's really, really important to be educated in that and to understand, and for it to have a purpose really as well. But at the same time, your well-being is so important, because that's where you begin to understand yourself, your strengths. And I hope I can help people have the mental strength to become the very best they can become. So I just say, you know, life throws you lemons and I help you make lemonade. But, you know, keeping fit, keeping alert, being entrepreneurial, being caring, having a purpose, thinking about your legacy. These are all things that women don't usually think about because they're never asked. And I just think, well, I have 3 daughters. We've been in business. I know so many great women, but not enough women that are stepping up to the plate, you know, in leadership roles. So I think, well, if I can do this and combine both, then maybe we will have a different, a different sort of momentum behind women being their own strongest personal self and bringing that to life to their children, to the future. Legacy is one of those words you just don't accept. You don't hear that with women. Men, very often legacy. But for women, we don't really talk about that. But when I'm working with clients, I can really see where their legacy could be, but no one's ever asked them. And I think that's the thing about you and I, actually, isn't it? We ask the questions that no one's ever bothered to ask us before, because most of what we do is take it for granted.
I'm so thrilled, actually, Anita, that you've just expressed that in the way you have, because I think and I said at the very beginning, it's so lovely that we are both on this journey, where we've kind of come full circle and really supporting women, but also most importantly listening, as you just said, listening to where women are today, what do they need, how can we best support them. And also there's young women coming through. We've got a lot of young women that are interested in Rock My Age as well, and so, you know, setting up mentoring schemes and workshops as well is going to be part of this whole journey, I think, for both of us. Anita, thank you so much. It's been a blast. It's always a blast, whether it's a coffee, a glass of wine, or a massive event that you're running. I so enjoy your company. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, and good luck with everything. I'm really on your side on this one, and any time and any place, I know both of us support each other through everything. Thank you very much.
I think what you're doing is amazing. You know what? 60 is a new 40, darling.